Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum. This is your brother, Coach Zubair. Welcome to Module 2. I wanted to quickly remind you of a few things. Remember, we talked about in the last Module 1 about 4 gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when we put in an effort to gather together, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learning the deen, and so on and so forth. So quickly recapping that. This is a beautiful hadith that we have, the 4 rewards, the 4 gifts that everyone gets it. And obviously we are doing an online learning, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is vast, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us. So let us put in our best effort. Let us, remember the example we use about a hand pump analogy, and to keep putting in the focus, keep putting in attention so we get the maximum value, reward, facilitation, and tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So put your phones aside. Any tabs that you have been doing for multitasking, put them aside. It's going to be a short module. Most of our modules will be like 10, 15, up to 20 minutes, inshallah. So in this module, we will be talking about the best practices that a Revert, our convert retention team, a convert development team, a convert coaching, a convert mentoring team, what we were calling convert success team or Revert success team can do. What are some of the best practices? What are some of the pitfalls to avoid? How can you structure a suggested structure of a Revert success team at a masjid, an organization, an MSA, a community center, so on and so forth. And we also want to take a look at one of the questions we talked about in Module 1 about the stages that a new Muslim goes through. And we talked about, is it like a 0-1 thing, or are there different stages that a new Muslim would go through? So before we dive into it, let's think about it. What do you think? Who is a non-Muslim? When you are thinking about a new Muslim in your head, what do you think? Who is a new Muslim? So are we defining someone who has just taken Shahada a week ago, a month ago, years ago, 10 years ago? What is your definition? So for myself, when I'm thinking about a new Muslim and the training that I have developed, it's focusing on someone who is basically not very strong in the basics of Islam. Like, what is Salah? Why is Salah important? And, really caring to establish the 5 daily Salah and being able to do that. Or, zakah, for example. What is zakah? When is it obligatory? Someone who is not really living their life with an awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're just like going with the flow, or the society, or the culture, or people that they look up to. They don't have a clue about who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is and what He is looking for and why. So that person, when we interact with them, that could be someone who is born Muslim but has not been practicing. It could be the person who comes and says, you know what, enough is enough. I want to take care of my life. I want to sort out my life. And I want to start developing and enhancing my relationship with Allah. And you will see a lot of these people when you hold conferences in your organization. You will see a lot of them in Ramadan, and so on and so forth. So all these people are in the scope of this new Muslim mentoring. And they could be someone who may have taken Shahada 10 years ago, 5 years ago, but really never got to practicing Islam, never got to learn about it, never got to be serious about it. For whatever reason, they took the Shahada and they moved on with their life. So all such people would be considered new Muslims for our purpose. It would not include someone who may be a convert and within 1 month or 2 months and 3 months, they know what they are doing. They know their basics. They know their foundation. They know who is who in the community. They know how to get access to scholars, how to understand the opinions, how to, ask their questions. They know they have Muslim friends. So they're not necessarily included in this as an audience for this training. So our focus, our target audience are the people, as I mentioned, who are new Muslims, as I explained earlier. Now, the question is, okay, how do I find them, right? So after the training, obviously one of that question would be, where would I find them? How do I find them so I can develop a relationship with them? So it's very important to realize that, look, it could be the non-practicing Muslims in your family. It could be your neighbors. It could be your colleagues. And you may see some of the signs that they're now starting to care about Islam, and they are, caring about the purpose of life. A lot of time, when a death happens in family, I've seen a lot of people really looking for the greater meaning of life, and that's the time that basically they start practicing the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or someone gets sick and they don't understand what's going on, why are they sick? And that's when they're really searching for meaning of life. So keep an eye on such people. And then, the whole 9 years, the discussion that we will have on how to initiate a conversation with them, what to talk with them in the first meeting, all that stuff can be applied to those individuals as well. You may see some youth or some middle-aged people, they're lacking purpose. They don't understand like where the life is going. Again, those people are there too. You know, people finding emptiness in their life. They may have a lot of things or may not have a lot of things, but they find this inner emptiness. So those are, again, good candidates for what we will be, you know, discussing. So keep an eye on them as well. Now, another example would be like you start seeing new faces in the masjid, right? So introduce yourself to them, tell them about your team, about what you do, and maybe they may be interested in your services and your offerings. Another great way of finding these people is basically when you have, you know, people coming into your masjid, to the imam or to the registrar, marriage registrar, and you see that they are reverts, right? So you can offer them. So one of the examples I use with converts is, look, you know, I'm so happy that you guys will be starting a new life together and joining together as a family. But think about it, right? Do you really want to be together for a few years? Or is your aim to be together forever in paradise? A paradise where you don't have to work, you don't have to cook, you don't have to do the dishes. It's amazing, amazing, amazing vacation. You don't even have to worry about your health. You don't have to worry about what I'm putting in my body. Will it make me fat? Will it make me sick? You are just there to enjoy by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if your goal is that both of you want to end up in that paradise, then along with developing and growing your own relationship in this marriage, you also have to develop your individual relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If one of you does not develop that relationship, regardless of it's a born Muslim or the convert, then you would be going to the paradise alone. So if you both want to go together, you both need to work on it so that you're not only helping each other in your dunya, in your worldly matters, but also in developing your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another way of meeting such people is using modern ways of events advertisement. So at this time of recording, one of the modern ways is meetup.com. You know, when you're watching, maybe there's something else that works better for your city, for your town, for your country. So be aware of those modern means. A lot of people go online and they look up for spiritual events in the city, or, you know, events to know about God in their city, or religious events in their city, or Islamic events in their city. So a lot of new Muslims would use these modern systems and modern technologies and social media platforms. So if you're not advertising there, then you may be losing out some of your potential people that you can help. So make sure that you use these modern means as well. Okay, so now what would happen is that, you know, either you see someone taking shahada, or someone else took shahada and they are aware that you do this work. They would take their contact or give your contact to them, and then you would get the first phone call or the message, or the imam would say, hey, you know, brother such and such, we have someone who took shahada, here is his or her information, can you follow up? So that's the initial stage, because before that is, you know, the main dawah, right? You're trying to reach out to people and ask them what is the purpose of life. You're giving them the Islamic worldview, and you're sharing with them why is Islam the true religion from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth, and whatever is between them. But after shahada, now this is where we start the new Muslim process. So it's super important that you make them understand what the shahada is. And this is something that we'll be talking about in our upcoming modules, where we talk about the first engagement, the first meeting, right? Because you don't, a lot of time what we do is like, okay, shahada, mashallah, brother, make dua for us, your sins are forgiven. Like, really? Do we really know if their sins are forgiven? You know, that's maybe a, you know, a slight wrong statement that we are doing. We don't know. We hope their sins are forgiven, and we hope that they're sincere with their shahada. I know many people who take shahada and they don't have any intention of really, you know, quitting anything and to establish their salah. They go back, you know, to their regular life. Can we really say that their sins have been forgiven? Are we giving them a sugar-coated version of Islam? That is very important for us to remember. We can't really, you know, we have to do justice. So and we'll talk about it in detail, but here's just the thing. So what I want to tell them is, look, you have found about God. You have found a way to access what God is about and what he likes and what he does not like and what you need to do to get to paradise. For example, if you want to go to Disneyland, or if you want to go to Six Flags, or if you want to go to Niagara Falls, and you've realized that, wow, this is such an amazing place for me to go and have a vacation on, and you go on internet and you figure out the route to that destination, to that resort, to that vacation spot, and you don't drive your car there, or you start driving your car there, and then the first exit comes of McDonald's or Tim Hortons, or, you know, Denny's or whatever, and then you take the exit and you start enjoying your burgers and you start enjoying your fries and milkshakes, you won't get to your destination. You won't get to your destination. You have to keep driving towards your destination for you to be able to, reap the fruits, for you to be able to enjoy the fruits. So just knowing that you have now, the destination, the direction, does not mean that you're going to get there. So you have to make an effort to get there. And we will help you with that, but it's something that you should realize that something that requires a proactive effort from you. Okay, now in terms of some best practices, so somebody takes Shahada, what is the environment? What is the team that you want to develop in your masjid? What is the culture you want to develop at your organization, MSA, your dawah team, and so on and so forth? So you have two options, right? You can say, hey, we have a convert care team or convert mentorship team or new Muslim care, whatever, and here is their card. Send them an email, subscribe to their website. Is that the best approach? It is a good approach, but is that the best approach? Is that what you would do in your own business? Is that what you would do if you're running a masjid and you're trying to get more donors? Is that what you will do? No. You will take their information and their permission that, can I pass it on so that the convert care team or the new Muslim care team reach out to you? And they do these amazing things. Likewise, you'll say, hey, like if you're running your own business, right? Can we get your email address so we can reach out to you with amazing discounts and updates on our deals and our business and so on and so forth. So you want to take their contact information. That's one of the main things. It's so simple, but I see a lot of people not doing it correct. They don't take their information, they give your information to them. Yes, sometimes you may have to do that if the person is very shy about it, but you have to think about ways to make them comfortable sharing their contact information. So I hope that's clear. Now, in terms of the structure, this is what I found beneficial, okay? So when I've established these teams, this is what I suggest. I said that, look, you need to have some people who are outgoing, who will be proactive, who are not support that, okay, if something breaks up, calls us and we'll answer your question. They are rather going as coaches, and we'll talk about what a coach is, and they're helping the person set some basic goals that the person will do to get to the destination that they're moving towards. So these are proactive people. They will be making phone calls to them. They'll be reaching out to them. They'll be trying to figure out what these people need. They don't have to do everything themselves, but they will be the interface. They'll be the one going out to them. Then you may have some passive teachers. So what a passive teacher is, so for example, you may have someone who's qualified and patient to teach a convert how to pray, how to recite Fatiha when the convert is ready. And he is a convert sensitive person. She is a convert sensitive person. So these people may not necessarily reach out to converts and encourage them and inspire them and give them the dawah to come to the masjid and to the classes, but these people can passively teach them. So if you come into the masjid, if you come to my class, or if you book a time with me and you come, I'll be able to teach you wudu, salah, even how to read the letters, whatever, right? So I'll be happy to teach you. These are passive teachers, but at the same time, I'm convert sensitive. So I realize that you may not have fixed your whole life according to Islam. So you may still have issues wearing wearing hijab. So you may not be dressed properly according to the Islamic dress code, but that's fine. As a passive teacher, I will ignore that because I know your convert coach, your coach is working with you on that, and he or she knows when to when you will step forward and so on and so forth. You may be wearing inappropriate jewelry even as a man. You may have other things. So I will be ignoring those things, and I will just focus on what I'm doing as a passive teacher. Then the third category of people that you can have are helpers, right? So these are people who can do one-time help, one-off help when they're available, but they don't want to commit to doing something consistently. So what I would do with them is, you may probably have a WhatsApp group of these helpers, and you may say, hey, you know what, a convert needs a ride for Jumu'ah or to the event or to the halaqah. Can someone pick him up? A convert needs some food to be delivered, or convert is sick and can someone visit him? So these are people who know that I don't have to bring up everything. I don't have to bring up small details of Islam, and I have to ignore them because the coach knows the struggle that the convert is going through. I will just do like pick up, drop, just hang out, visiting a sick person, so on and so forth. So that could be your general helpers. Now on your PR/social side of things, what these people would do, they would help get the word out. They will let the other masajid, other organizations know, that other marriage registrars know that, look, we have this team, this is how we work. If you come across someone who is interested in practicing Islam, a new Muslim or even a born Muslim who wants to now practice Islam, please send us their contacts. These people can also interface with the community. And again, these roles does not mean that one person has to do only one thing. Someone can be doing multiple things from this list. So, for example, if someone is having an aqiqah, a walima, or some sort of a barbecue in the community, they will let you know, right? So they will pass this information to the convert coaches, and then convert coaches can invite their converts. So, for example, sometimes what people do is they try to have exclusive events for reverts. Sometimes it's needed, but sometimes it's an overkill as well, because you may put in a lot of effort and not many people would show up. So what we do is, like, if there's things happening in the community, a coach can take his or her buddy, his or her mentee to that event. And this way they get to interact with the wider Muslim community as well. So these are some of the things that, can be done. You can potentially get some sort of discount or free tickets for barbecues or whatever, right? For these converts. When needed, sometimes these converts would say, okay, they're not up for bigger events, and they would prefer more smaller gatherings in an intimate setting. So a coach can take them out for dinner or for lunch or for coffee, and if the masjid can support those small bills, or can take out like 2 or 3 people, or if they're having a group class, they can order some snacks and so on and so forth. So being able to be dynamic about that relationship and doing what is needed, inshallah. Now, in terms of some of the other things to be aware of, be careful about how you introduce them. Okay, so some people think, oh, I should only have converts interacting with converts. That's not always the case. It's not a guarantee that all converts will click. So you have to, as a coach, be aware of what person's interests are, and you try to introduce them in events or when they're at the masjid to people who are roughly the same age, same hobbies, whether it be career, education, sports. You try to introduce like-minded people, okay? And you try to take advantage of the social events that are happening in the community. Now, and one of the things that you really want to help them understand from your first meeting, and we'll talk about that, is that, look, I will introduce you to some people, but you becoming Muslim does not mean that everybody that I introduce to you will become best friends. Does not mean that everybody you will be like, really fall in love with, right? Because some people you'll click well, some people you don't see an eye to eye, and they have a lot of differences. And because you have your own personality, your own taste on how you view the world, what kind of activities you like, what kind of discussions you like. So it's okay for you to select the people that you click with. And it does not mean that you have to change everyone to fit your mindset, or everybody has to change to fit your mindset. And sometimes people can do some of the wrong things as well. So for example, the third bullet point here is a lot of people like to get the reward, and when they see a convert making a mistake in the salah or wudu, they might correct him or her. Now that's a great thing in general, but with converts and new people, I think they get uncomfortable, and they're like, oh, people are watching me, I don't want to make a mistake, and they get uncomfortable. So in general, we discourage the general audience from going and correcting new people. If you see someone making a mistake, yes, you can welcome them and say, hey, you look new here, who are you? Like, introduce yourself. They may say, okay, I'm a convert, I'm a newly coming Muslim, and then they can talk to them. Okay, do you know about our new Muslim team? Do you know about new attendees team? Do you know about welcoming team, our convert coach team, or new Muslim team? I'd like to connect you with them. And then let them take care of that process of correction and learning. Because sometimes, let's say somebody is like, new, haven't learned how to pray, they come in, you start correcting them, they get uncomfortable, and they just get discouraged to come to the masjid. A lot of people are like that. So it's very important for us to be aware of that. Another thing that the general community does is that sometimes they make statements about, a specific ethnicity, or white people are like that, black people are like that, Americans are like that, or they may say something political, or some of the things, and these are just like, not really Islamic things, and that's their own opinion about cultures and whatnot. And this can make a convert really, really uncomfortable. So being aware of these things is very important as well. Now, something else that people do is they add the converts to WhatsApp groups. Okay, so please be careful about where you add them. So this is something that goes back to the converts themselves as well. Look, you should only be hanging out at places or in WhatsApp groups or in Facebook groups where you can see value. Sometimes people add them, or sometimes they go and they join these groups where there are all sorts of discussion going on, people backbiting each other, people talking about, you know, Islamic politics or politics in the Islamic lens, or, you know, ingredients of toothpaste or ingredients of, you know, soap, you know, insurance, car insurance, all these things, and the convert may get like overwhelmed. So you have to be very careful about what kind of discussion you're throwing them into. So that's some of the things that we have to be really careful about. Now, in terms of stages, so think about it. So what I used to think, that a convert, when they take shahada, they're like ready to learn how to say a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. So Allahu Akbar, subhana rabbiyal azim. But they're not, right? They may get overwhelmed. They're not really looking forward to it, most of them. So you have to realize that sometime after shahada, the phase is still to strengthen their shahada, is to strengthen that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Allah? What is akhirah? Where are we going? And to encourage them to engage in dua, and to encourage them to consume Islamic content, and to discuss with them until they're really, you know, interested in now learning the technical side of things and salah and establishing the salah. So you have to keep an eye on that how much of this versus how much of technical stuff you want to bring in. And this is something that we will talk about in detail in upcoming modules as well. So once they get into this desire to learn, then you want to start practicing the technical content with them, as well as the spiritual content. So what is spiritual content? Spiritual content is like, who is Allah? Understanding the names and attributes of Allah and their impact on our mindset and how we view the world and how things happen to us, and so on and so forth. You know, stories, seerah, and the stories of the companions of the Allahu anhum, you know, events of the akhirah. These things are all on the spiritual thing that would encourage them to be focused on the metaphysical aspects of this life as well. Now, obviously, after that, they'll inshallah start praying and coming to the Friday prayers. But something that can happen alongside, and you don't have to wait for them to learn to pray before they can be given opportunity, which are mentioned in number 5. So some people would be like, okay, I like to come to classes, basic classes, or halaqah, or discussion groups. And some of them may be like not very studious, but they may be interested in, you know, activities, volunteering for something, volunteering for a social cause, a hospital, you know, especially if your Muslim team is going there, or a soup kitchen or food bank, and so on and so forth. So keep an eye on that. If you can engage them in that sort of manner, that's another good way for them to be connected to the Muslims communities. So again, these are some of the resources I've talked about last time. And so that's there for you on the slides. So I'd love you to think about this content. If you have any questions, any ideas, comments, concerns, you know, please share, because together we are learning. You may see an opportunity, you may see a situation like, Zubair, this does not work in that situation, or you should address this specific situation, and so on and so forth. So I'll see you all in the next module. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.